That's awesome.
Next thing we have John. He aspiring activist.
Buddy.
Thank you. I like to be taller. Okay. I have a question that I want you to ask yourself. How active do you want to be in the legalization movement? There are many ways to become active in the movement. It all depends on how much you're willing to get involved. If all you want to do is complain about the problem, well, that's kind of the opposite of activism. But if you actually want to make a change, there are several things you can do at different levels of involvement. The first thing you should do, and probably one of the easiest, is register to vote, and then vote when the time comes. Now, if you're a felon in Nebraska, you do get your right to vote back 2 years after your parole, probation, fine's completed. Once you're off paper, 2 years after that, you automatically get your right to vote back. All you have to do is go down and re-register. Can you guys hear me in the back all right? Okay. Now, you might ask yourself, why should I vote? My vote doesn't count. That couldn't be farther from the truth. Every vote counts. It reminds me of a few years back, we had casino gambling on the ballot. And it didn't pass by about 1,000 votes. And I know I've got a handful of friends who didn't bother voting. And of course, they all wanted the casino gambling. So I mentioned to them, this is exactly where your vote would have counted. Because if everyone in Nebraska who didn't vote because their vote didn't count would have went down and voted, we probably would have had casino gambling here now. And another thing, when you don't vote, you are making a statement. You're saying, I'm okay with the status quo. So, actually it's a very loud statement you're saying too. And you know what, if you're fine with the way things are being run, don't vote. You know, things are going to stay the way they are. They've been this way for years. But if you want things to change, get down and vote. It does make a difference. Something else relatively painless. Become a member of your local activist group. I know we have a few here in Nebraska. NORML Nebraska, you can join for as little as $15 a year, and all the money does go toward legalization efforts. Now, if you want to get even more involved, you can write letters to your elected officials. Emails are okay, but letters are much better. You can actually feel them, they're tangible, and if they see that you took the time to write a letter, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and take it to the post office and mail it, it makes a pretty big impact. Now keep the letters to a factual basis and to the point. Don't write them in an angry tone. Keep them positive and polite. If you want them to vote a certain way on the bill, let them know, and then give a few examples of why they should vote that way. And before you send them off, of course, make sure your spelling and grammar are correct. Easy enough so far, right? That doesn't take out. Well, those three things are pretty easy. Everyone involved in the movement should at the very minimum be doing those three things. Another thing that's relatively easy and doesn't take a lot of time. Write to your local newspapers. You can write letters to the editor or respond to articles in the paper. But just like to the elected officials, keep them on topic. If you're responding to an article, keep your response around 200 words or less. And make sure to keep them on topic. Don't get discouraged if your letter doesn't get published. It takes several tries sometime, depending on the volume of letters that they receive. Still easy enough, right? This isn't taking too much time out of your busy schedule. I can't quite hear you back there. I see heads nodding. Kind of feel like I'm just up here talking to myself sometimes. Which, by the way, it doesn't bother me. I can talk to myself all day. Now, if you enjoy talking like I do, yeah, woo! Yeah. And I know a lot of you know that I really like to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I know, huh? A lot of communities have local radio talk shows. This is another great way to get your voice heard. You can call in. It's a great way to educate the public. When you call, make your comments short and to the point, keeping them down to about 30 seconds or less. It helps to have your ideas written down in point form before you call. Another thing, don't waste time saying, I love your show, or I just want to say hi to your guest. Just start in right with what you want to say. Anything else is just a waste of valuable time. You're seeing how easy it is to get active with very little effort on your part, right?
Right.
Okay, now for those of you who want to get even more active, we really need volunteer petition circulators. We don't quite have our petitions back from the state yet, but they will be done very shortly. And this is something that everyone can do to help. If you can spare just 1 hour a week, you have the potential to get over 2,000 signatures. Not in that 1 hour, by the way. That's over the period before we have to turn them in. I don't want anyone to get too excited too quick. But if everyone volunteers, if we get enough volunteers giving that 1 hour, we can easily get the 125,000 signatures we need to get the initiative on the ballot. And then that's the first step. After that, of course, like I said earlier, get down and vote. So let me ask you this. What's 1 hour a week when it weighs against getting fired, fined, or even jailed for doing something that you believe should be legal? Is that too much to give? If you could give up a whole day or even a weekend, you can volunteer to help out at events. This could be anything from helping in a booth, running security, or even litter patrol after the event. Every little bit does help. If you would like to get even more involved, joining the board of your local activist group is a great start. And I know they'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Now, if you really want to enact change, I would suggest getting involved in a political campaign. Find someone who's running for office who you can get behind, someone that you believe in their cause, and volunteer to help out with their campaign. Get them elected. Now, if you can't find anyone who believes like you do, run for office yourself. Now, I do have to warn you, this does take a lot of time and resources, so make sure you're very serious before you take on such an endeavor. Another option, get involved with the political party. You can change a party much easier from the inside than you can from standing outside. Now I'd like to cover some don'ts in activism. Don't start another activist group. It takes a lot of hard work and time when you can easily join one.
That's one of the biggest problems in any bit of activism is people, they'll branch out, start another group, and then it happens again, and then people get separated on certain things, and it ruins it.
Right, then you have to start from scratch. Every time you start a new group, you're starting from scratch.
I wasn't laughing at you.
I know.
I was laughing with you.
Yeah, I know.
She's laughing at you.
Yeah. Either way. but like I was saying, that does take a hard work. And you can easily join one that already exists and start getting active right away. And like we just discussing, if you really want a voice in where the group's going, join the board. It's a great way to help steer the group in the direction you want it to go. And like I said earlier, I know that they would love to have you on board. Jumped ahead of myself, don't want to do that. The movement doesn't need any more Facebook pages, websites, or social network sites. A lot of social media is actually anti-activism. The reason I say that is because it has a tendency to distract people away from doing something that they could actually help with the cause. However, social media is a great catalyst to activism. Tahrir Square in Egypt was filled by people who were using social media to get bodies to the square. But showing up, that was the actual activism.
Not clicking join and then not showing up.
Exactly.
Act.
True activism requires getting up and getting involved. You can join a group holding signs in front of the Capitol, get signatures, write letters. Now that's true activism. Everyone has a special gift or talent that could be used to further the cause. Volunteer your gifts to your local activist group. It doesn't matter whether you can write a song, write letters, help make signs, whatever your talents are. Volunteer them to help further the cause. Whatever you decide to do with your activism, keep it organized. Make a to-do list and follow it. The better you can organize your activism, the more you can accomplish. Now, some of these things do take a lot of time and energy, but if you want real change, someone's got to do them. And remember, all of you are someone. Thank you.
Thanks, John. It's pretty simple. Get involved. You know, for everybody who goes out there, no, I don't want to vote. Go pull a felony. I had my right to vote taken away for several years, and it sucks. You can't even go vote. You have no voice because you were dumb enough to commit a crime. You do the crime, you do the time. I deserved what I got, but I lost my right to vote. I was thrilled to get it back, and I vote every time. Granted, maybe you don't think it counts. Like John said, there are times it really does. Take advantage. You've got talents, use your talents. You know, it can be as little as just educating somebody.